If you've got a question, the voices of resin are here. Oh, PlastChicks.
PlastChicks is an SPE-sponsored podcast.
Hey!
Hi! We're
here in person again.
We're here in person again. We're in Charlotte at ANTEC 2022.
It's co-located with PlastChicks South, and we're here on the trade show floor, which you might not be able to see, but you can maybe.
But there
hear a
are
little
real
bit.
people. This is not Zoom. We
And
can
we're
reach
three of
out
them.
and touch. See? Real.
So I'm Mercedes Landazuri,
And I'm Lynzie Nebel.
and with our powers combined, we are
PlastChicks.
the Voices of Resin.
It's us. We're here.
So this is an SPE-sponsored podcast, Society of Plastics Engineers, inspiring plastics professionals. We have podcasts that's released the first Friday of every month.
And then there's a YouTube video in case you want to see us be awkward as we sound, because that's exciting. We're also on Instagram, Twitter, maybe a TikTok. We always
TikTok
put it
soon.
out there, but we haven't done it.
Well,
It'll
big
be a
plans,
year
Big plans.
around to it. And yeah, you can listen to us any of those places, anywhere you get a podcast. Just find us.
Or-
PlastChick, no I in the middle. Don't get fancy.
Which now we have another podcast joining the podcast family. It's going to be debuting live today.
Yeah,
But enough about us.
too much about us.
So here with us today we have Amy Aussieker. She is the executive director of Envision Charlotte, and we were so taken with her presentation yesterday that we chased her as she
Chase.
was,
In these shoes.
and she agreed to for the podcast.
We
very
used
last
almost zero threats.
I
was
mean,
wonderful.
after you tied me down and like forced me to commit.
But a yes is a yes,
The
so
feather
we're
tickling
good.
the
fine,
foot,
it's
you
fine.
know, it gets to be a bit much, and yes, it always wins. Envision Charlotte, tell us, yes.
About you, about Envision Charlotte. Go from there.
I mean, you guys got a couple hours, right?
At least 6.
7.
Okay.
Good. All right. Sit back, everyone. Relax. Enjoy the show. So yes, I am the executive director of Envision Charlotte, and so we are a sustainable nonprofit for Charlotte. So we focus on projects to make Charlotte a much more sustainable place, which I'm sure
Love it.
anyone who's at this conference is completely experienced.
All on board. I'm seeing
All on-
yeses
yes.
across the
I
board.
was like, yes, I feel that I'm completely saving the earth every time I walk into Charlotte because of Envision Charlotte. That's us. We've been working in the space of air, water, waste, and energy. And most recently, in the last few years, we have fully embraced the circular economy. So we are helping Charlotte, all the corporations and the citizens, transition to a more circular economy.
And I love it. And you were actually one of the first cities doing the whole circular
Hey,
economy
do you want to
thing.
say one of?
You were the.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Number
The.
one. Number one.
Number one. There.
Yes.
So, you know, you were talking about how you have like the pillars, and plastic falls under waste, which, okay. But how important was it for you guys to include plastics? Because I feel like, you know, looking at some of those things, you might not necessarily think to include. Others might not think to include it. You guys did. You guys were on your game. But how important was it to include plastic?
Well, so we had hired a group called Metabolic to analyze our waste stream and really look at how could we look at the materials destined for the landfill and then divert those, create jobs and innovation. So as we're analyzing it, some of the top things that rose to the top of the landfill were plastics, organics, textiles, and construction and demolition. So plastics is one of those that if you can divert it from landfill, you can, as you guys know, you can recycle it, you can upcycle it. It's just getting it out of that waste stream
Right.
and creating new opportunities with it.
And I think that's one of the things that people understand is the actually getting it out of the waste stream, because it seems so simple, like just separate it, but it's not as simple as just separate the plastic.
Although if people separated the plastics, it would
Step
be much
one, I
easier.
mean, we're talking bare minimum. But
Yes.
So Nike is famous, one of the kitchen, but Envision Charlotte has an innovation barn. Can you talk a little bit about that?
which
Yeah.
feels more rustic. I like that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's rustic. No, it's 100-year-old building that was retrofitted, and we built out 18 square feet.
Wow.
And basically, the idea of this innovation center, which is the first of its kind in the country focused on circular economy.
Look at you guys just hitting off number ones.
So what it is designed for is to bring corporations together to figure out how they can advance their goals in the circular economy, engage individuals. Because one of the things I think that's super important and exciting about the circular economy is we can all do something. We can take our plastics and make sure they're recycled, and we can take our organics and keep them out of the landfill. It's something actionable for us. Whereas, if you're looking at renewable energy, you really have to rely on companies to create, solar panels or...
And we all know we trust companies blindly.
Totally. We trust companies. Anyway, so you have the Innovation Barn. So in there we have all these circular systems. So we have everything from aquaponics to hydroponics to composting to a plastic slab. But we also take materials that we don't curbside recycle in Charlotte, like plastic PlastChicks. There may be a few fans of yours that drink beer. I don't know, a few.
And none of us have ever had beer.
No,
probably.
definitely not last night.
No, zero
definitely
beers.
none.
So zero.
Beers had.
Yes.
But the little PlastChicks, the little carriers, right now those go to the landfill. We're able to take those, chip those down, and create new products with it. So the Innovation Barn is really designed for how do we build business models, taking materials going to the landfill and keeping them out, new materials, new opportunities, new jobs, new products.
And you were speaking yesterday about some of the partnerships that you have with some pretty big local companies here. Mm-hmm. Can you speak a little bit about that?
No. Okay.
And we are done.
And goodbye. So we have partnerships with Coca-Cola Consolidated. So we work with them to make
Heard
sure.
that name?
Maybe.
Once or twice, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they are the largest bottler for Coke companies. So they have like 14 states. They have an initiative to get every bottle and can back, them with the ABA, American Beverage Association. So we work to make sure that PET, their bottles and their cans, when they come to us, we squish them, basically bale them, and put them back to their processors so they're made back into bottles and cans. And so sometimes when those materials go to a MRF, which is a materials recycling facility, they get downgraded into polyester. So plastics go down, and then they get dead end, so they go into the landfill after that. So we try to keep them at their highest and best use. So we've got Coca-Cola Consolidated, Sealed Air is another big partner of ours. So we take their bubble wrap and air pillows back, and we send them back to them so that they can do testing to see how they can reincorporate that into new products. I mean, I could go on.
Which I feel like I get a lot of the air pillows because I get a couple shipments from Amazon. Yeah. Once or twice.
And Electrolux, I know some of their CMF, their common material finish people. They donated some of the items in the kitchen. Is that right?
They donated a spectacular teaching kitchen. So there are 4 stations, and they're all like state of the art. And their whole sustainability goal is reducing food waste. So how do you extend the life of food? How do you cook and use every piece of the food? So they have dehydration within their ovens. And so we're showcasing how you extend the life of food and create less food waste. So Lowe's is another big partner of ours. And so we do a lot of DIY projects with all of their materials, which is super fun. So we built out a mushroom garden.
That makes sense.
Container.
That's the first thing I would have done.
You posted something about it on LinkedIn. So shrooms and
shreds.
Shreds, yeah.
Yeah, that. So you can go in and you can learn about urban farming because by 2050, if we don't do something different, we'll have a total collapse of our oceans and the seafood.
That sounds fun.
It's kind of depressing. I'm sorry to bring everybody down.
Okay, we'll just have a good cry after this.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Exactly. It's
with a beer.
Yeah, tears into the beer, a little salt.
Beers.
Yeah.
They were here the other night. Yeah.
Very
Brian
good.
and Gina went.
One of my favorite bands. Anyway, side note. Okay, so Mushroom Container, though, was built out of DIY, all of Lowe's goods. But urban farming is important because we need to start growing fish on the land to help preserve our oceans. So we have
Which that feels like something I want to tell a time traveler. Like, we're growing fish on the land, and they'd be like, what? Mind blown.
Are you ready for this?
Yes, I want it.
We have been growing fish on the land for 4,000 years. Tilapia have actually been grown on the land for 4,000 years. The Egyptians
Okay, well
did.
now
Wow.
that's a whole nother avenue I didn't know we were going to get on today.
So I don't want to go down that tangent. I'm like, well, did the Egyptians do hydroponics? Did they? Because hydroponics and aquaponics, they go very well together.
We're really we're pretty tangent heavy as it is. We might really spiral.
Let's
We'll circle back to landfish later.
So you mentioned yesterday that you're looking for, you were speaking to a room full of plastics engineers, and you're looking for people to come in. Yeah, tell us about that.
Help.
How can SPE help you?
Yeah, so we have a plastics lab, and in the plastics lab we have a few machines. So one of them is a Filabot machine, which you can take flaked plastics and then you put it through the machine and you can make filament for 3D printers. So there's
Always
different-
fun.
Wait! I didn't catch that part yesterday. We'll talk offline.
Yeah, no, but so do you want to hear an even crazier story?
Always.
It's gonna
Yes.
change. Okay, so during COVID, everyone had these takeout plastic containers and was freaking out about how much, they were going to landfill, blah, blah, blah. So a friend of mine is the president of the Chinese American Chamber, and she has all these ties to China. And China, she had a group of high school students. I know you guys are like, where is this going?
I love it.
Love
I'm
it.
just
I know.
I'm hanging on and I'm
Here
in.
for the ride.
We'll be back in 3. No, I'm just kidding. So
Commercial break.
Weather on the ones.
I want to tease it, anyway.
We'll build it up.
So they wanted to raise money to help the United States in PPE, like getting protective equipment for our healthcare workers. So they had all this money raised, and so they were going to buy masks. And we came up with this idea that we could take our takeout plastic container, create filament, and you could 3D print the structure of PPE. So instead of just buying a one-time shipment, we could keep producing it if they bought us a Filabot. So Chinese high school students bought us a $20,000 Filabot machine where we were able to take in plastic containers to create filament to then PPE for our frontline workers.
Thank you, Chinese high school students.
Chinese high school students.
Way to go.
How cool is that?
That's so cool.
How
So-
did you
What am I doing
kind
with
of
my life?
alert the community that you were collecting these takeout containers? Because I feel like I'm an ignorant human being and I would just keep
Don't put them
Come
in
on
curbside.
now, come
Don't
on.
put them in
I would
curbside.
just put them in my own collection that I keep forever.
Yes, good
And
answer.
sell on the black market in New York City.
Yes, 100. Actually, I do a little black market plasticking, but
With oil prices.
it's
there's
not
a
the worst
business
idea.
there. Yeah, exactly.
But how did you get the community? Because I feel like messages are hard to get out to anyone, really.
They are. So during COVID, they were always looking for stories like this. So we have a very good PR team that would pitch it. But we also looked at the high volume users. So retirement facilities, because all the retirement facilities suddenly stopped using regular plates and everybody switched over to plastics because of COVID. Because everyone didn't know, right? So retirement facilities, schools, when schools started going back, they stopped serving it on single or plates. So we targeted those guys, then we targeted farmers market for collections, and then add on the PR with all the news stories. We were able to get a huge collection mechanism. You drop them off at the innovation barn. So we have, if you
Love
sit
that
at
barn.
the innovation barn, you will just see people driving up every day, dropping off not only their takeout plastic containers, but bubble wrap and air pillows, PET, aluminum cans, glass.
So how do you handle the mix of what's coming in at the Innovation Barn? Because I'm sure for people like me who are very lazy, I would just, here you go. And for those that are just listening to the audio, I heave-hoed a pile of recyclables to Amy. So how do you handle that? Do you sort it there? Do you sort it ahead of time? Do you ask for it to come pre-sorted? What's the protocol there? Yeah, all of it.
All of it. So
yes, please.
we have bins that people can put it in, but what's been really cool about the Innovation Barn, and I just think how people are becoming more aware of landfills and all that good stuff, we have an enormous network of volunteers. So we have a ton of corporations, like Ally's, one of our partners, and they twice a month send
My
a
bank.
group. Hey, see?
So supportive.
Send your checks too. Just kidding. But Ally So they have 2 signups every month where they send volunteers to work with us. So they sort.
Wow.
So like the Charlotte Motor Speedway sent all of their plastic and aluminum from the Coca-Cola 600 last year, and we had volunteers go in and
manually sorting.
Yep.
Wow.
I have some really cool time-lapse videos.
And
of
that is cool.
volunteers, like,
That's amazing.
sorting.
And are they learning how to sort the different plastics as well? I mean, because not necessarily everyone is like down with the polystyrene versus the PET
The
versus
sevens?
the.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay, there we go.
Yeah, they're learning that. Most of the time we get aluminum and PET mixed.
Okay.
But we do occasionally the clamshells.
Oh, yeah.
Clamshells, they can't do anything. So yes, they're learning more about plastics. And I do think we have the plastics lab that Sealed Air is our naming partner for that, is to educate on the 7, what you can do with each and why there might be a couple that,
Just steer clear.
Yeah.
So, you guys have a ton going on.
A few things.
Just 1 or 2. What is there anything that's like that you tried in the beginning of like setting up this innovation barn, or even with the whole program, that didn't quite pan out, that you had to like revamp, or is there anything like you kind of wish you could have structured differently to help it grow?
Because you've been there almost a decade now, right?
Well, we've been only in the innovation barn 9 months.
Okay.
But our organization has been around 11 years. Yes. We've had a lot of failures, and I was just on a panel around innovation, and it's fail and fail quickly and move on and celebrate failures. Like figure out what you did wrong.
Fail forward.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And so I'm totally fine. We joke that I'm kind of the person that brings a fish in, and I toss it to the staff, and I'm like,
Those are hard
Play
to
it.
catch. Those are hard to catch.
They're very
Right?
slippery.
slippery, and sometimes we're like, yeah, we can't eat that. And then other times it blossoms. So one of the things that we tried many years ago in the waste industry was sensors in trash cans to figure out like how much was coming in, what was
cool.
the volume, to start, and trash cans get really beat up, so the sensors didn't work, and it was so much labor in terms of going back and trying to figure out the sensors. Like I can't, like it just, the cost was enormous. Or there are regulatory issues, like at one point we were trying to look at water usage in buildings. Charlotte, if you've noticed, we don't like anything old. We tear it all down and we build new. You walk through the city
All
and you're
new.
like, okay.
We were in a brand new stadium last night.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
New.
And so when we were looking at water efficiency, we're so efficient because our buildings are so new, there's not a lot of savings there. So
Gotcha.
we spend a lot of money on looking at water efficiency and like, okay, we're already very efficient. So yes, we've failed a lot.
Yeah, I think that's something an industry like the plastics industry is sometimes hesitant to do because there's a lot of eyes already on it. So having, a group like yours that is kind of doing the failing for us is very helpful.
And with us, right?
And with
so
us.
many volunteers, so many corporations that are contributing to the efforts. Right? And you also do community events, right? The Trash Talk Thursdays, the third Thursday of every month. Is that right?
See
Okay.
that
Look at that.
alliteration, it just goes right in.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
What other kinds of events do you guys do?
So we have Trash Talk, and then we have what's called Circle Up. One of the things, get it, Circle Up.
Love it.
We love it. So one of the things that we found are there's so many people in this space that don't necessarily know each other. So that guy might be interested, and that guy might be interested.
I don't think they
By
are.
the way,
They're not
pointing
friends.
out people in the floor room here.
Not yet.
They're not friends yet.
They're not friends yet.
Come on, go up.
So people reach out to me and they're like, do you know someone who does this? Do you know someone who does that? I'm like, oh my God, I cannot answer all these emails. So we decided to have once a month a Circle Up. There is no formal agenda. If you are like-minded and you want to come in, have a beer, and talk with other people. So we started
Already
that.
interested.
You know what's
brilliant.
interesting though? It failed at first because everyone just kind of stood there. So you know what we're going to implement?
More booze.
Speed dating.
What?
Nice.
Yeah, so we're going to have people have to sit at tables with the different people.
I
and
love
kind of
that.
Have a conversation to force conversations instead of you just going up and be like, hi. And like it's that awkwardness.
Yeah.
So we're going to do kind of speed dating of Circle Up within this whole framework.
I love it so much.
Those are two events that we have that are kind of our staples.
I love that.
The circle of love.
Kind of.
Well, another thing
Don't put me on your marketing team.
the circle of love.
It's going to turn into a very different event.
People come in, they're like, I was hoping. Oh wait,
We're not
Oh,
here for
we're
actual
not
dates.
here for
Got
okay.
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
One thing actually that was great at a networking at an event that we went to recently, we were ambushed by a moderated discussion at our lunch table.
Oh yeah, it was an actual ambush. We had
It was
idea.
great, though.
It was wonderful.
We sat down just for the lunch at the event, and then the guy introduces himself, and he's like, "Well, I'm here," and then we looked, and there was a list.
It was like a topic, and we're like
on our table.
And he's like, "How do you feel about that?" And I was like, "I have never done that. Thank you." But it was still a good conversation.
I got a lot out of that conversation.
Yeah.
And it was great. Everybody learned. Everybody contributed.
So you can make your circle up at a circle table with
Just
love.
surprise them. Surprise them.
With love. Yeah.
The topics of craziness.
This is Attack Love Circle Up. Again, maybe get a different name. I don't know.
Maybe.
So, Amy, if you had unlimited funds,
I want them.
right? Same. I want that for you too. Thank you. And I want that for Envision. I want that for the Innovation Barn. What part would you expand, or what would you put that towards?
Okay, besides bringing you guys down and doing a podcast weekly to highlight all the stuff that we're doing.
Besides that, 'cause that's super obvious.
Well, next time we're here, we got to visit the barn.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're gonna
literally at lunch today, I was with Daniel, who works with me, and I'm like, God, if we had unlimited funds, we would hire people to tell some of these cool stories. Like, I'm going to give you like a goofy, and that's not actually. We'll get to the serious stuff. But this guy reached out and he's like, so I got in trouble for flying my drone in a space that's illegal, and
the airport. It's weird.
Literally, the judge was like, you need to do 24 hours of volunteer services. And so I saw your organization. I'm really actually into plastics, and I do a lot with polymer. He's like, do you have something for me to do for 24 hours? So I hooked him up, and he's like, he comes into the plastics lab, and he's like, I can fix all this. I can extrude that. I can do all that. I'm coming Monday and Tuesday. I'll knock it out. And we're like, all right.
You're like,
this guy needs to fly his drone more often.
Right.
You're just like, you can fly it over there. You watch him.
But telling that crazy random story, or for example, we have 2 Mandela Fellows coming this summer, and both
Fancy.
of them in Africa have started businesses. One collects plastics and then shreds them and turns them into products.
Bricks? Is this the one who?
No, this is like a totally separate business that he does around collecting plastics in his village. And the woman she realized in the markets they didn't have fresh food, so she started aquaponics, and she takes it to the markets, and so they're coming to the barn.
But does she have landfish?
That is.
I want landfish. That's all I want.
Well, then you can come meet her, because she will provide you.
Thank you.
With landfish.
Just want landfish.
Isn't chicken tuna of the land?
I think so. I think that's the saying.
Isn't that? It's something like that.
I'm like, you're close. Very close.
Almost as close as Jessica Simpson back in the day. That's a little callback there.
We are very young.
But yeah, so telling the stories, because I think that's so inspiring, that's one thing I would do with unlimited funds. The other thing is I would really want to work with these corporations. I'm not going to name names, but there are several big companies here that don't recycle at all, because there aren't big...
What do they rhyme with?
I'm not going to shame them yet.
All right.
If they turn me down,
We'll
bring
save
me
the
back, and then I will
We'll do a
name
full
We will.
shaming episode.
Yeah.
That is what we love,
Oh my
honestly.
God, I would love that.
That would be
There's
really
so
fun.
Don't.
Okay.
My little devil horns just came out. No, but how do we fix recycling, as I talked about yesterday? How do we change the way we do recycling? And then also these big companies, how do we help them on their recycling goals? And lessening the stuff that's going to the landfill. Not only from once you've used it, but how do we move up that stream, design differently, so that there are maybe a few green PET bottles. If we could get rid of that,
Right.
and make them all clear. If we could standardize some of this stuff.
And I think some of that stuff is so, like, to us, so simple. Like, it's so straightforward. It's like, why are we not doing it? But I think to companies that maybe haven't even broached really the sustainability or the, circularity many
or they
things.
don't have the engineer teams connected to the industrial design team.
Right, and I feel like those are the things that seem so overwhelming, but if you had groups to be like, it's not that bad. Like, here, I'll hold your hand. You can
But
do
I'll
the...
argue one thing. There was a company.
I love an argument.
There was a company, I don't know, like 20, 30 years ago that they were very known for a green bottle, and they went to clear, and their market share dropped. So there is the marketing side of things, and so we do have to acknowledge how you get around that. And I do think there are forces of us individuals that could raise up and be like, we're still going to drink it even if it's not in the iconic green bottle.
Right. Well, Connor Carlin, one of the executive board members, he wrote a book on recycling and sustainability. And I think one of the subtitles is "Gray is the new green."
Gray is the new green.
Yes.
But just the muddy colors of everything.
But it's tricky too because I work specifically in color and actually Pantone published this the other day again that up to 85% of consumer purchasing decisions are made based on color.
And meanwhile, in college, one of my professors told me, you color things because people are dumb. So I have a very opposite, although I don't really, because obviously I love.
But if you work in trend forecasting, we can use our powers for good as well. And definitely, I was chatting with. Well, that's more about me. Let's get back to you.
I love the color conversation because it is like for a second, like they've done studies in hospitals that colors of rooms change the way you feel about healing. So
definitely.
That when you get back to, I'll take it back for you, back to plastics, if you have an iconic color or a product that's a certain, and it invokes like Coca-Cola red, like you may have, like I have a very specific childhood memory that my dad had an Coke machine, and so that creates a memory, right?
Or your alma mater, right?
Yes, I was very Purdue.
Actually, I even went with the black. I didn't even think about that.
Black and gold.
So you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. And literally, I did this news story, or it was like it's an episode of American Innovators, and it was when Purdue was playing, and I couldn't wear a Purdue sweatshirt because they didn't want me to have Purdue on it, so I wore black.
And you're
gold.
like, what if I put Purdue and just like tape over part of it?
What I did is I seriously black and gold.
I like it.
I mean, because it matters.
It does. It does. And I will say, I'm a stater, so like.
You are?
Yeah. Listen, I thought we were going to be friends. I was being nice about the Purdue part.
In the South, Big Ten.
Right.
Big Ten sticks
exactly.
together. Except IU, I can't do that. But otherwise, I'm good.
Well, let's not be insane here.
Right. Well, there are limits to my love.
I can only do so much.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like we are right about at time. What, if you can tell us, just one more question, what is next? What is next?
The moon. Recycle on the moon.
Yes.
Going there with Elon or Jeff?
Since China's not taking our recyclables, we'll just
this is something we would joke about. Like, we can't we can't dump them in the land, we can't dump them in the water. Let's shoot. No.
Shoot them to the moon. Bad idea. Please don't do that.
Kidding. Just trying to be light here.
Evil billionaires of the world, please do not shoot garbage to the moon.
Right.
I feel like that needs to be said.
It'll
just
come
in
back.
case.
It'll come back and bite us.
I know, it will.
Or blow us up. It's fine.
So what's next? What we're working on right now in Charlotte is we're going to harness all of the companies that are looking at circular economy, plus all the ESG goals and all of that. And we want to, in the next year, make a bold goal for Charlotte around the circular economy. I don't know what that is. I don't know what everyone's going to come up with. But for example, organics are terrible to go to landfill, right? You put your food into a plastic bag and then it ekes out methane. It's terrible, and like 40% of our food is wasted.
And we're all sad.
And we're sad.
Got it.
And people aren't eating.
Sarah McLachlan music.
Cue it in. Bring in the puppies. We're good to go that have the sad eyes. But what is the next big goal for Charlotte around sustainability? And how do we get all the corporations and individuals all like rowing the same way and like marching towards that goal? That's next. That's next. It's a small thing. It's not very big.
Well, I'm glad you shoot for like baby steps. I feel like you take it very slow.
I do.
With almost no growth, really. So yeah, that's really great for you. So, to anyone listening, where can they find your information, especially plasticky people who may think, I'm in Charlotte. This feels like I could get down.
Service hours.
I've flown my drone in a random place. I could I could do my community service
Yeah,
hours
I
here.
got a little bit crazy last night, and now I got to do some
I mean,
volunteering.
honestly, if we are going to assign community hours based on happy hour, you will have very many volunteers.
Okay, good. Yes.
And if you want, we'll keep track and just let you know who should technically
Who gets
be.
the merit.
Maybe needs to come to
Yeah.
our plastics lab.
Yes. So how do other people get a hold of you?
Yeah, so if you go to envisioncharlotte.com, there's a ton of information, and then if you email us at engage@envisioncharlotte.org, that comes to us and we can disseminate. And we are looking for help, as I said yesterday, with plastics, dialing in if we take the PlastChicks versus take out plastic, the melt points, how do we then extrude it? Like, we need some engineers to come in, because as much as I went to Purdue, I am not an engineer. I was a communications major, not engineer. I like engineers, they need to come help us.
Well, now you're going to have to deal with the Penn State engineers. I'm just saying.
She's going to bring them.
versus Purdue engineers. Let's go.
The
We need to
plastics
take this
program.
outside.
All right, jack it off.
Well, Amy Aussieker, thank you so much for joining us today. This was delightful. We're really inspired by the work you're doing. We got to come check out.
Thank you for letting us chase you down a hallway.
Any day.